I made over $10,000 in the month of March, trading this exact pattern within the market. And from what I've experienced, is as soon as 90% of traders are getting liquidated and stopped out, that is when I'm actually cashing in. As you can see here, 7 winning trades, 2 break-evens, and the 1 loss, a 79% win rate. So if you want to stop giving away your money to the market makers, I would watch until the end, because I used to be like you, used to get stopped out and liquidated, and then the market would move. So let's get into it. The goals of this video. Goal number 1 is to understand how to trade the daily pattern that we are teaching. And then for goal number 2 is to create a clear set of repeatable and tested rules within this strategy. Lucky for you, we've already tested everything, and obviously it works, and it can work for you as well. Goal number 3 is how to apply it in the actual markets. And then for goal number 4 is how you can make 10K a month using this exact same strategy, or at least implementing parts of it into your own strategy, and then how to scale to that 10K a month. So for rule number 1, as you can see here, we've got the previous session high and the previous session low within our candle. You're going to go onto the daily and the 1 hour time frame and mark out the previous session highs and the previous session lows. In our case, it's going to be the Asia highs and the Asia lows, the London highs and the London lows, because we trade New York market open. So we'll go onto the charts and I'll mark out those levels. So quickly on the daily time frame, mark out the high right over there and mark out the low, and then we drop down to the 1 hour to look for our London highs and our London lows. So there's our London high and there is our London low right over there. Simple as that. So we'll go back to the diagram and look for the next rule. So for rule number 2, you're going to go on to the lower time frames, wait for a sweep of the previous session high or the previous session low. In this case, our previous session high gets swept, as you can see here, and we'll go back to the charts and we'll wait for that sweep on the lower time frames. So we'll just go into the 3 minute. Let me just make it look better so that you guys can see it fully. I'll play a price. So as you can see here, we get a sweep of our London highs. I'm just going to quickly mark that out. There is the sweep of the London highs. And then we'll go back to the diagram for our next rule. So for rule number 3, we're going to go onto the higher time frames and find a 4 hour, a 1 hour, or a 30-minute fair value gap, just so that we've got more confirmation of our delivery of our entry. So back to the charts. In this case, it was a 1 hour FEG. So as you can see, the market is tapping into this huge 1 hour bearish fair value gap. So go back to the diagram and look for the next rule. So for rule number 4, we've got go on to the lower time frames, the 5 minute, the 3 minute, the 1 minute, and find an inversion fair value gap. And if you don't know what a fair value gap, it's 3 candles with an imbalance within those 3 candles. As you can see right over here, there is the imbalance. And then in terms of the IFEG, that is when the market closes through the fair value gap with displacement. As you can see, there is our IFEG. So we'll go into the markets and find our IFEG now. So back to the 3 minute, where we took our entry. And then as you can see, leading up to the sweep, there was a nice 3 minute bullish fair value gap that formed right over there. And then I'll play a price to wait for the inversion. As you can see, here is our inversion right over here. Let me quickly just mark it out. So there is our inversion right over there. And we'll go back to the diagram to look for the next rule. So for rule number 5, enter on the candle closure of the IFEG and target the previous session low. Bear in mind, if we had swept the previous session low in the first place, we would be targeting the previous session high. But in this case, it's the PSL. So there you go. As you can see, the entry is on the candle closure of the candle that inverted the FEG. And now for our stop loss, it can be either 3 things: above the liquidity sweep, above the candle that closed through the inversion, or above the wick that closed through the inversion of that candle. So we'll go back to the charts and we'll mark out our entry position. Entry on the candle closure, and then we'll just go stop loss just above the wick, and then we'll target our previous session low right over here. So as you can see here, a very good R, 6.41. We can even make it a bit safer for people that trade very safely with a lower win rate or something like that. But yeah, we'll put our stop We'll put our stop loss just like that. Gives us a nice 1 to 3.7 RR. Almost hits our take profit, but edges us just for a moment, and then it begins to hover a bit. Bear in mind, as you can see here, we have our Asia session low right over here. So that's where we can put our break-even level. So once the market closes through this level, we can put our trade at break-even, making the trade completely risk-free. But yeah, I'll continue to play the price. Hovers back up a bit. And then boom, smashes take profit. A nice 1 to 3.7 RR. Absolutely beautiful trade. And that is very simple. That's exactly how the strategy works. So now we'll quickly go back to the slideshow. And then for the rules, as I said, we're going to create a perfect, repeatable and tested rules list. So the first rule, like I said, was mark out the previous session highs and the previous session lows on the daily time frame. And then you go into the 1 hour to find your London perspective highs and lows. And then for the next rule, it's wait for a sweep of the previous session high or the previous session low on the 1 hour time frame or just a lower time frame in general to see the exact sweep. And then you find a higher time frame for value gap for delivery so that our trade has got more confirmation of playing out in our favor. And then you find a lower time frame IFEG for the entry confirmation. And then the last rule is to target the previous session high or low depending on the trade itself, the stop loss above the candle wick or the body or the liquidity sweep, like I said. Simple as that. So how to scale to 10K a month with this strategy or implementing parts of the strategy. Number one is you need to pass 5 times 50K accounts. Once you have that, you've got enough funding to actually go out and receive many payouts because you don't actually have to risk that much if you've got 5 accounts. Number two, you aim for 5% on the 50K, which equals 2,500, and then you have to minus the 80% profit split you'll give to your broker. So that'll make you $2,000 times 5 accounts equaling 10K a month. Very easy. You don't have to risk a lot and you don't have to trade many times a month at all. So use your strict back-tested rules within your strategy or mine, or you implement both of them together, and that is basically it. But yeah, down below is the links for our Discord where our completely free community is available, and that is everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.